Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this webinar all about Frog, and we titled it Frog and Google Classroom. It is hopefully going to show you how to get the best of both worlds. Joining me shortly will be Claire Maybe, and together we're going to show you a whole load of different things that you can do using Frog and Google. A couple of little housekeeping things before we get started, though. You'll notice on the side of the screen there's a chat window. We'll be keeping an eye on that throughout, and if you want to ask your questions, post it there and we'll try to answer as we go. Questions allows you to ask a question and nobody else sees it except us, your hosts. We'll probably not be looking at that during the event. Instead, we'll follow up with you if you've got any questions afterwards. But chat, what we found in the previous webinars, is half the time somebody else will answer the question for you before we get to it. Anyway, lovely to see you all, and I'll just jump straight in. What we're going to have a look at is how Frog adds value to Google Classroom. And what I mean by that is taking the best of Google Suite and having Frog manage it for you. So I'll do that briefly. We're going to be showing you where Google is in Frog Drive and the Google Preview widget. And when Claire joins me, she's got a special extra treat for you on that one. I'll then show you how you can use Google with Quick Assign and then for marking. And you know what? I already feel like I've said Google too many times. So let's just jump right in. So I'm just going to move over to my window here. Now we've got this presentation. If, by the way, with all of this stuff, if you go to frogeducation.com/community, you will find links to all of this guidance. So if we run past something too quickly here, you can see it in more detail there, and obviously you can reach out. Now, one of the things that we did early on with Google integration is we had this presentation. We made it for a school who were wanting to convince their school to move over. And what we're saying is Google Suite is a really powerful set of tools. But personally, I think Google Classroom is a tool for the teacher. It is a very useful way of setting out and pushing out work to the class. Having said that, it's not a great tool for the student or for the school as a whole. Their parents can't see the work being set. So actually, why don't we take all of those Google documents and all of those really handy tools that you get with Google Suite, but have Frog manage your classes for you. So what I mean by that is we sync with your MIS anyway. So we'll pull all of the students into their classes, and we'll keep that updated if students move around from their classes, but you can then still assign Google documents out using Frog. So I just wanted to touch on that. There's a full presentation all about that on our pages. If you want to, we can go into that in more detail. But Claire's joined us now. Hi, Claire. Thanks for joining in. What we've done is we planned all this out. I promise you we did plan it. So I have a presentation. We have what we're going to do. We've sliced up the presentation into different bits. And Claire's going to start by showing us Frog and Google, aren't you? So I'll minimize everything. I'll make Claire large for the moment until your screen gets shared.
Thank you. And I'll just share my screen. That one there. So hopefully that should have, yes, it's worked. Brilliant, that's super. My apologies first of all for the late entry. For some reason, technology is a wonderful thing, but when your microphone decides not to work and your camera as well, it's pretty stumped. So do the usual thing, come out of it, go back in, and all is wonderful. So as Graham's done that little introduction, that preamble, that's brilliant, Graham, thank you. The first aspect, obviously, is looking at, as Graham's already said, how we can sort of work in partnership with the different sorts of technologies. So if your school has signed up and has Google integration, then you will be able to access your Google Drive from within Frog. So where does that happen? Well, if we just go up to the quick launch and we go and access Frog Drive, once that's loaded, you'll see from this Explorer bar type menu along the side, if I just scroll down towards the bottom, we've got the option here for the Google Drive. Clicking on that will allow me to see all the files that I've got in my own Google Drive area, but I can also see any files that have been shared with me via other colleagues through the school's OneDrive setup. So very easy for me to be able to access the resources that are there in the Google Drive. There's lots of other things and components that you can explore once you've got this set up. So there's different ways of searching for different files. It might well even be, if I go for this one here, I wanted to, I could view that within the Google Drive. So lots and lots of different ways of being able to get at your resources without actually having to leave your Frog environment. Now, as we know, when we present files and folders and things to students, they can find them a little bit of a turn off and they don't want to go hunting for things. So what we can do, and this follows on from some of the discussions we've had in previous webinars, is there are other ways of being able to incorporate your Google resources within a Frog site, or it might even be within an assignment. And that's going to be the next area that I want to look at. So I'm just going to close down there the Frog Drive for the moment. For those old enough, in the best Blue Peter fashion, here's a site I made earlier, because I'm conscious of time. So if I just open this site up. So what we have here is a site that potentially I may well use as just a teaching and learning site, but it could be one where I actually want to assign some activities that are on this page. So what we have here is a little bit of content, just a preamble about what this site is all about. But I want to incorporate some of my resources that I have on my Google Drive. So I'm going to show you 2 widgets that we could use to do this. Just go into edit mode. And the first widget I'm probably going to put on here will be, she says scrolling down to look for it. I'll go to my widgets. And I should be able to find on here, wherever it's gone.
Are you looking for the Google Preview widget, Claire?
I was looking for the
folder.
Yes, it's the My Widget, isn't it?
In the middle column, just keep going down. There.
Thank you, Graham. Okay, so I'll take the Google folder embed widget. Now, what this will allow me to do is embed the content from the entire content from the Google folder into my particular site. Now, I've just popped it at the top here, just so you can clearly see some of the instructions on here. So with this particular widget, we actually give you the instructions as to how to be able to actually create a view of the files in that particular folder. So all I need to do now is if I just click on the widget on the page, what I need to do is I need the link from the Google Drive. So I'm just going to go to my Google Drive that I've got open. And I'll go and find my folder, which was at the top. There we go. Oops, sorry, go back a step. There we go. So I'll find the folder. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share, and I can get my sharing link from there. So I'll copy my link. That's done. I can go back to Frog now, and all I need to do is paste that in. Okay, now there is you can have a little look through and play around with the height and so on, and there's a bit of customization, but if I just save my changes for now and close the edit panel, you'll see now we've got the entire contents of my Inspector Calls folder, which means now it's much, much easier for my students to be able to access those resources. They are there on this particular site. So the other widget also that I wanted to show you, which is the preview widget, the Google Preview widget, which I think, if Graham can remind me, is under Insert. Yes, it is. Wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this widget. So this would be for, say, a single file. So again, I go to select a Google Doc, and this will open up my link through to Frog Drive. And straight away here, we can see it's taking me straight to my option for My Drive and Shared with Me. And I can find the file that I want to use. Now, I did have 2 examples here, but I think I will stick with, probably go for this prime numbers one for now. And then all I need to do is click on Use. There are different routes through for different aspects. So again, I could go and open this in Google Drive, but I just want to go for Use for now. That's dropped that in. You just see the little sign-in option that came up. So obviously, if you may not have signed into your Google accounts before, that may well pop up. I'm just going to save my changes and close that. And I now have that document all ready to run. If I want to, I can open it up in Google Drive. So I've got that element of interactivity if that's what I wanted to use. At the same time, if it were a student and they wanted to download it, do something with it at home, then they can do as well. So it gives you a number of different options. It also means now that I have all the resources that I need on this particular site, So I've got all my files and folders. I've got a particular activity that I want the students to work on. And now what I can do is just go up to the option at the top here for share, and I have the option now to assign my page. And for those people who were with us on last couple of webinars, you can see here it's already inherited the name of my site. So that's brilliant. I don't need to type that in. I can then choose my subject areas and so on. So this is going to be, where are we? English. There we go. And again, I've got my exercise. I don't really need to put any more notes on there because all the instructions are on that page for the particular users. All I need to do is decide when that is going to be handed in by, and also which group of people I'm going to set that up for. So very, very quick and easy. I'll just close that for a second. So just to recap, when I go into edit mode, the first widget I was talking about was the Google folder. So that gives you the ability to be able to embed the contents of a folder onto your Frog site. And the second one that I mentioned was the Google Preview widget, which allows you to, again, be able to preview a Google file within your Frog site. So you're not having to do any uploading, downloading, copying, having multiple copies of different files. They can all live in the same place, but you are pulling them through to give them easier access for your students. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to add there, Graham.
Well, I'm going to talk about the Google activity, but I was going to do that from quick launch, from the quick assign approach. I think if seeing as we're on your screen, if you wouldn't mind going to widgets and activities.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll go to widgets and we'll find the activities.
So just like the quiz widget, just like the file drop, just like the text activity, we also have a Google activity, because what Claire showed you with the Google Preview widget was the ability to show a Google document inside Frog. But we can also use the Google activity. So imagine if Claire dragged that on instead of the preview, and we don't even have to imagine if Claire's doing it.
There we go. Okay.
Then again, you go off and you select your Google document. You can add success criteria. In fact, yes, Claire, do you, I was going to say you may as well just go into it.
I'll just grab something.
Yes.
I got, oh, I know what I've got. I've got that one. Ooh, there we go. Use that. That's fine. Okay, so I've selected that one. Again, I can change the activity details, and then obviously we've got this point here, Graham.
That's what I was wanting to mention. Yes. So in that setting, everybody collaborates. So you have a single document. Frog will take care of the sharing for you, but everybody interacts on that one document, or everyone has their own copy. And when with that in mind, I'm going to start sharing my screen again and show you what that looks like.
Wonderful. Thanks, Graham.
Okay, thank you. So here we are. I've switched over to my screen now, and I'm looking at my Google Drive inside Frog Drive. And I've just for you, I've tidied up my Google Drive because it was not like this. I've got a document selected. If I just open it right now, it's a worksheet I've got about chemical spheres. So if you remember your year 8 chemistry, I can open it in Google. I can make changes. So we'll do something like make this all red. I can add further instructions. I can add in images because I've got all of the editing tools that Google gives me. When I'm happy with it, obviously, there's no clicking save or anything like that. I close it down and watch what happens to the preview. It updates automatically. It detects that I've closed the other tab, that I've returned to Frog, and it goes and gets the latest version. So when I'm happy with it, when I know that that's the document I want to use, I can select it. And if I go up to the action cog, I've got assign. I've got those same options. I could just allow this to be shared and set for viewing. I've got collaborate, or I've got individual copies. Now, there's the other way to do it, and that's what I'm going to show you next, which is if I go up to the plus button and create an assignment. Google work, we'll pick a subject, fit in all the instructions as usual, pick my class. And then when I click on next, I now have a Google activity option as an activity. And it's exactly the same process as the other two ones we've just shown you. But I can select my Google document from my Google Drive, click use, and there's those two options again. Everyone collaborates, everyone gets their own copy. If I used it as a view, if I wanted it for viewing only, I would have added it as a resource, which I could do next. So when I go and do that, Frog goes off and does all the sharing for me, and it creates on my Google Drive a folder called Frog, and I can go into it here. I can go into all my assignments. I can go into my subjects. I can then see in this class folder all of my students. But I can then keep going even further in. If I go into Amara's here, I can see all the assignments I have set for that student that uses a Google document. So I've got two routes to look at the work. This gives me a view of their work in progress as I go. But obviously, because I'm doing this through the assignment system, that means their parents know that I've set their work. Your pastoral staff can support children. Your SLT can run reports and so on. And you can mark the work alongside any other work you've got inside the Markbook system. So here's one I prepared earlier. Here's my chemical spheres work that I set. And I've clicked on Amara, and he's actually submitted some work for me. So I can open it here. I can see that he's added in his answers. I can open in Google. Now, there's one thing that's really tempting to do, you have to avoid doing, and we do pick this up in the training videos. I want to comment on the work Amara's doing. I can't use the Google comment tool. And the reason I can't even see how to do the Google, oh, there you go. If I select that and say I wanted to make a comment, when Amara is completing this, he has the ability to edit it. He can't share it, but he can edit it. When he hands the work in, Frog steps in again and changes Amara's access so we can no longer make changes. You don't want the students handing their work in on the deadline and then adding extra information to it after they've meant to have handed it in. So their status goes to view only. And for some reason in Google, people with view only rights don't get to see comments. So if I want to put a mark in here, or a comment rather, I have to go in and put the comment in as text. You can see it's just as easy. In some ways, it's easier to do because I couldn't even see how to add a comment before. I have to do that to highlight it. So it's just to watch out for. It's a pitfall to be cautious of. Anyway, I've done that. I'm going to close that tab down. The preview updates yet again. So now there's my comments in, and I can close this, and I can award a mark as usual and move on to the next student. So and I can see here, that's not on his. Thanks, Zach. Great demo. So that's one of the minor little things to look out for in Frog, but it is a really easy way of combining all of those useful tools, but still being inside the Frog environment and still letting us manage all your MIS synchronization. Now, what I'm also seeing is everybody's been really quiet on the chat so far. We haven't got any questions coming in.
I keep looking, but there's nothing there at the moment.
No, I've posted a couple of links. Let me just check. Nobody's asked a question either. I've posted a couple of links there. One is that set of pages that I was talking about that will give you guides for how you can, as an admin, you can set it up in your school, talking to you through the integrations needed, the integration for how teachers can use everything and for how students can do it too. There are multiple levels of integration. The simplest one is what we've just been demonstrating. You can attach your Google Drive to your Frog, and that can be almost on an independent basis. But you can put this, if you have the students' Google web email addresses, then you can assign work to them. Now that's all handled through the users app and covered in these guides. Also, Frog can be your single sign-on into Google, so that when you log into Frog, you can open up Google and you're logged into Google automatically. And you can do the reverse. You can have Google be your single sign-on system into Frog. which is especially useful if, for schools who are using Chromebooks with their students. They can have their Chromebook, open it up and open Frog and be logged in instantaneously. All of this is handled within system preferences, and we talk about it in the Google integration for admins that's there.
I mean, I know I brushed over it, Graham, but I think that aspect of being able to see all the resources that have been shared with me in the Google Drive, it's so much more collaboration with each other from a teaching and learning perspective. It just opens up the resource bank even wider.
Absolutely. And of course, there's also that benefit, and you did mention it there, about the students downloading, and by being able to take a presentation or a PowerPoint, a presentation, I shouldn't say a PowerPoint, but being able to take a Google document of any type and embedding it directly in a page makes it so much more engaging. Because the other thing you can do is you can have that presentation, but then underneath it, you could have a forum, or you could have a Frog quiz, or you could even have a form. You could collect and interact with the students in lots of different ways while keeping them all in one place. So you're not worrying about which tabs they're opening and going on to that way.
Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't incorporate this as part of a sort of a home learning activity. You may well be doing a live lesson, but you may well have the students actually interacting with those resources during that session time. So it continues the learning beyond that live session if needs be.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just going into my Frog Drive here, and the benefit of doing this, of having all of those documents in your Frog Drive, is it is really easy to dip in. So if you are using Frog assignments in Google for coursework and things like that, you don't have to go and collect all the students' work because you've got it all already. And I think that, again, is something that's worth pointing out, that it's really handy to be able to go in and see all the past work in one place. The other thing, from a team teaching point of view, I could go, right, I will go and open this in Google Drive. I will share my Google assignments folder with other members of staff so that they can help me with cover and so on. I can go into
there's a myriad of different ways it can really make life a little bit easier, say, like Graham said, with sharing the resources.
Well, everybody's remained being very, very polite. Either we're covering everything in exactly the right amount of detail you want, or the questions are still being pondered. We're going to stay online for a bit longer. So if you have any questions, then by all means get in touch and post them there. I will say, if you go to, we'll start at the Frog community level. Here's our Frog community. If you scroll down to the Learn Training Guides, there's our Google integration tile there, and I can click into there and I'm back at that page. And as I say, and one of the things that we did is we shared a presentation that we helped the school make, because they knew it was a whole school movement on, that they wanted to do this. So we've prepared that presentation and we've shared it here. Should you need to sort of pitch this to anybody in school, you've got a starter for 10.
I think also, Graham, obviously, if you just went back a step, we've broken those down into different audience types. So again, that might well help. Perhaps you're a member of staff, or it might be a student. There's no reason why you can't make these visible to other colleagues and learners as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
wonderful.
Thank you very much for watching. This recording will be made available on the community site as soon as we can. We're going to stay online. We'll turn our cameras off for the moment, but this is the last of these webinars at the moment. But stay tuned. I think, Claire, you've got the wording right, haven't you?
I think there's words to the effect of there's lots of plans in the pipeline. It's just really sorting out appropriate dates that are going to work for everybody. But we will keep you informed, so don't worry. When the next sessions are ready to go out, we will be keeping you informed, so you can join future sessions.
Yes, better than I could have said. And again, frogeducation.com/community. And if you do have any technical problems, if you've got any issues, that's the service desk email for you as well. But in the meantime, we'll be online. But thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.